Hey everybody, welcome to the Christel Crawford Show. This is me back after about a 3-week little hiatus where I was healing my body and changing a lot, facilitating a couple of very big access classes, and so I'm back. And if you are listening in the future, you won't have even noticed the gap, but welcome back to the Christel Crawford Show. We are changing, I'm changing, not we, me. I am changing us back to Mondays at 3 p.m. Eastern to be live. So for those of you guys that are live, say hi, because Facebook is changing all the time and I can't always see when you're live. Hi, Amanda. Tell me where you're watching from so I can say hi to you. Hey, Zeal. Nice to see you guys. And this week's episode is making money flow like air into your life. Now, if this is a thing for you, if this is something that's interesting to you, I want to let you know that I'm starting a 21-day adventure, untamed adventure on Wednesday. So obviously if you're watching live, this is relevant to you. If you're hearing this in the future, go check my shop, maybe it's there. But what I want to tell you, this is the secret, and then we're going to get into the topic, is that if you are on my email list today, you are going to be receiving a 50% off gift off of that class if you sign up before Wednesday. So I'm just letting you know that's coming. Watch your email for that if you're on my email list. If you're not on my email list, go right onto my email list. But hey, Olga, hi Joy, hi Maxine. Nice to see you guys. And for those of you guys listening on some other platform, I do record this live, so you get the benefit of feeling like you're here with me. Hi. So there are so many different things to talk about in regards to this topic, and you guys sent me in a lot of your money questions, which I'm going to be using to create the next 21 days and feed this conversation a little bit. But there's one primary thing I want to dive into today in regards to all the questions you've ever asked about money. And I'm going to talk about it with a couple of stories, because this epiphany and this reality had totally changed a couple of very major things for me in the past couple of weeks, and I get that it's a conversation that we need right now. So what are the tricks to making money flow like air into your life? The simple response to that is that there are no tricks. If you want more money, you need to choose to have more money. That's the simple response to that, okay? If you want more money, you have to choose to have more money. However, here's something that I didn't get that has contributed a huge amount. And what I'm going to end this episode with is like 3 different tools that you can use to start generating more money in your life. Now, that's actually the primary thing that I want to talk about today. The difference between, hi Janine, hi Manuel, hi Mary, hi Kathleen. What's the difference between creating and generating? And why the hell do we want to have that conversation again? And what does that have to do with making money, which you can't really make money do anything. Money comes to parties, right? You can let money flow like air into your life, but what does all that have to do with each other? Okay, I'm going to tell you this, and I want you to extrapolate the story I'm about to tell you to whatever it is you're facing right now that's not working very well, okay? I was in the reference materials like I do a lot, and for those of you guys that don't know what the reference materials are, they're a big tome of not discarded material, they're just like material, access class material that isn't as relevant to as many people, but there's like pages and pages of them, and it's a gold mine. And I'm in there all the time. I have literally made a study of money and business and grader for like 7 years now. So I was in there, and I read in one of the sections this conversation that Gary Douglas had with a class participant about the difference between create and generate. And it sort of went like this. In this reality, like basically where we live right now, to create something new, you have to destroy it first. Now I'm going to let that sit there for a minute. To create something new, you have to destroy it first. If you're going to build a new building, you have to destroy the building that's on the land that you just bought that is in the place of the building you want to buy, right? You have to destroy what's there in order to create something new. And that's how this reality works. When you're functioning from this reality, you have to destroy in order to create something new. Now, generating is a constant space of expanding and more. Now let's just sit with those two for a second. I'm gonna sort of like, okay, we said that. Let's leave that here for a minute. Over the last 6 months, right, there's been a lot of stuff coming up for me. You guys, you caught me, like COVID for me has been, 2020 for me has been the year of self-care. And I have been changing and enhancing and having more and all this stuff. One of the things that has been facilitating like major expansion for me in my life is my relationship. Now, relationship, like money, hi Vicky, hi Mara, can easily be seen as it's like, it has the best of both worlds, right? Whether you have a relationship or you have money, which if you're on planet Earth, you need money. So I'm assuming this is relevant to you. It has the highs and the lows possible in those areas, right? Like you can be in the throes of euphoria in a relationship, and you can also be like in the depths of despair. And there's been a lot of things that have gone on during COVID, for example, you know, him being home all the time and me getting to have a daughter for the first time, you know, all this stuff. There's just all this stuff has been in our lives, as I'm sure it has for you. So my relationship has been this like catalyst for less and more consciousness. Now I'm prefacing all this to say that 2 weeks ago it came to a particular head. And I had been feeling more and more frustrated. I'd been feeling more and more done. And I tell you this with a lot of vulnerability because I know my partner watches this, and we are creating something that is so incredibly nurturing and life-giving for both of us. And the life-giving and nurturance has come out of a few periods of time where we're at the end of the rope in terms of what we know how to do now. So we got to another one of those couple weeks ago where we both really looked at each other and going, what are we doing? Because that gratitude was gone, and this is a money conversation. The gratitude was gone, and we were both really struggling with each other's way of doing life, and the ease was gone, you know, and both of us really, really love ease and love gratitude. So we just had an adult conversation and was like, okay, lay it all out on the table. Everything's up for chopping. Like, you know, we don't have to do this. Neither one of us need each other. You know, what are we doing? So the conversation really wound its way to like, I guess we're done. And to be honest with you, whatever it was we had gotten to being that other way was done. You know, we were like, okay, whatever this is like bullshit. Like, but it got to a couple other places too. And one of the things I said to him in it was, are we pushing away the thing we want the most? And it was a yes for both of us. We were both pushing each other away, which was the thing we wanted the most. And I said, well, that's really interesting. And the second thing we finally got to was something that came out of my mouth. Because we talked and he's like, where are we at? And I'm like, I don't have any conclusion. I don't know. And finally I looked at it and I was like, you know what? We're at that point in any situation where we either do what this reality says you do, which is, should I stay or should I go? You have two choices. So either go or we get more vulnerable. Because I recognized what was happening. I recognized that we were at that point where we were either going to take off because this was too uncomfortable to face anymore, because we were at the end of I said, we are at a place right now that neither one of us have been before with another person. Both he and I were there. And I could tell that we were at the precipice of like, we just needed to be willing to get more vulnerable with what was really going to work, with the fact that we just wanted more honey, you know, like just that sweet spot of being vulnerable instead of fighting. And so we just sat with it. And that next day I was driving around and I was, you know how when you have this moment where, you know, that moment, and then you go away from it and you're like just doing normal stuff. Usually I'm showering or I'm on the toilet or I'm driving or something mundane. I was driving and it hit me, this conversation about create, destroy to create, and generate. And it hit me like, you know how epiphanies happen? They feel like a year long and they're probably like 0.07 seconds. It just went like whoosh over me and I was like, oh my God. I was like, have I been destroying the relationships so that we can create something new? It was yes, I had been. And I was like, what is it then? And so I got that I didn't need to do that. All of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, I don't have to do that. I have another choice available. I can actually generate what I want to have as this relationship. And for the very first time ever, I asked myself, what do I want to generate as this relationship? And immediately after that, I had a question pop in, which doesn't always happen, by the way. That's, that was great. I got the question of like, well, what energy in space and consciousness can I be to contribute to our general happiness level with total ease? I can't even tell you how light everything got. And up to that moment, I had been trying to I'd been using so many different tools, so many different clearing loops to try to fix something. But I didn't know that I was fixing something. I was just trying to get somewhere that, how you don't know how to get where you want to go. Like with money. You don't necessarily know how to get to where you want to go, but you're like trying this and doing this tool and playing with this and doing this clearing loop and trying this challenge, right? And you get places with that. That takes you places. But I hadn't yet, until that moment in the car, asked myself what I wanted to generate as this relationship. Now that might sound semantic, but it is a totally different universe. And in that moment I was like, oh, I want to generate more happiness for us. Now, I'm going to put a caveat in here and tell you that I could have asked that question and wanted to contribute to our general happiness level in my original family, all I wanted. Nobody in that family wanted happiness, So that isn't always the question. But it is always relevant to ask yourself, what do I want to have? What do I want to be the source of here? And it was like a convergence of epiphanies. It was a convergence of recognizing that I am the source of whatever shows up here. Right now, I've been the source of a lot of discontent and no gratitude. I've been the source of finding and looking for what I'm sure is the end. That was another facet of this. I had decided something was inevitable. So I've been looking for the end. I'd been the source of all that, and I got to see what that created. It had created a lot of separation. It had created a lot of judgment. It had created a lot of pain, because neither one of us wanted to be separated from the other, and yet that's what was getting created from that choice. So as I'm in the car and I'm realizing I get to choose, which it didn't show up as I get to choose. It was just like, what do I want to generate as our relationship? And I was like, oh, I want to be contributing to general happiness, to a greater future for all of us. What energy, space, and consciousness can I be to generate a greater future for all of us with total ease? Instantly, I could perceive different choices. Where literally for probably a month or two before that, I could not perceive those at all. They weren't even available. That right there, my friends, is the power of a true question. And contribution, I'm glad you put that word to it, Christy. The other thing that it had tapped me into is what really is rewarding for me, which is being the source of everybody getting greater. That is what's really rewarding to me. Not just like getting out of the situation, what's going to work for me, not just taking, but actually being the gift that I am. Being it. And that's what generating is. You are generating what it is you want to be for whatever. So that was huge. Partnered along with that, my partner was going through our upheaval and also some major upheaval at work, which I'm sure was playing into what I was aware of. And there's all kinds of other things we could talk about in regards to the relationship thing. But we're going to keep it super simple today. He was going through some stuff at work. And finally, with all of our upheaval and like the shift that I was able to choose and all of that, he came to me and he's like, he was frustrated and heavy, which means you're in a reality that's not yours. And this new job that he had taken, had not panned out the way that he thought. So his projections and expectations that were fed and, by the people that hired him, weren't coming to fruition, which is what happens with projections and expectations, by the way. And at the end, I'll give you a few tools to deal with this, okay? Hey, Rebecca. So he was basically like, he's like, the last time that I was in this situation, I did this thing where I would say these sentences and it really changed things for me. Do you have any tools? And I was like, do I have any tools? I had just gone through this major epiphany about create and destroy and generate. And I recognized immediately that there was two things, major things going on with his financial situation. One, that he was projecting and expecting results from his job. So, which means that when you project and expect, which is what I had been doing in the relationship, the only things you can create with those are separation and judgment and rejection. And the thing is, you can't see that you're doing it until you see it. So, but just know that. That's like a piece of information. Those are the only things projections and expectations create. So I could see that immediately. The second thing I got is that he didn't have the tools to generate a different energy in his world around money. Because when you project and expect that if you do this, you're going to get this result, then you lock yourself into this reality, and there's only two choices in this reality. Should I stay or should I go? So it's either going to work or it isn't. And so if what you're told should work isn't working, then what do you do, right? Like, what do you do when you need to be able to access all choice, all possibility, all the creativity that you are, all money possibilities in the entire world, but all you can access from that reality is two limited choices? So the first thing I gave him a whole sheet, which that's coming. But the first thing I said, hey, you listen, every morning you need to destroy and uncreate your projections and expectations. You need to destroy and uncreate who you were yesterday. And those were the two primary things. So say this with this clarity statement, say this with this clarity statement, and then here's some questions to start to ask. And this right here is the generation part. This is where you start to generate a different set of possibilities and choices for yourself, and a different something can show up. Now, if we go back to his job situation, like he was looking at, I'm going to have to destroy this job in order to create something new. And in that limited reality with should I stay or should I go, that's exactly what you have to do, right? Like you have to keep destroying things in order to create something new, destroying this so you can create something new, right? Like we're fucked with that as our limited menu. But if you have access to being able to generate something new all the time, no matter what, then you can just look at what you've created so far. And that's one of the things Gary says to do. He goes, look at what you've created so far with money and go, okay, cool, I created that. Now what can I create? You don't have to figure out why. You don't have to figure out how you got there. You don't have to do fuck all with what you've created so far. You just have to be willing. That's the only thing you need to do with anything you've created, relationship shit, money shit, whatever, is go, okay, this is what I've created so far, right? Whether it's huge past expenditures, less than $0, $5, $100,000, whatever it is. Now, what can I create from here? What can I it's basically what can I generate from here? I'm going to use create and generate a little bit intermingling from here on out, okay? But that's all you have to do is go, okay, so this is what it is, now what? And then start with something else. And this is where I want to insert into the conversation of when you're trying to fix something. So if you've decided like where you've gotten yourself financially is a problem and you're fucked because of it, and you're trying to use all these clearing tools to get yourself unfucked, you are constantly going to be swimming around in problem reality, which is what I had done to myself inadvertently with the relationship stuff that I was dealing with. It wasn't the relationship that was the problem. It was my point of view that was creating my reality. Because listen, I changed my point of view, and this week has been heaven. So I literally had heaven available to me, and what I was experiencing was a version of hell. That's true for you right now with money. You have heaven available to you. Are you experiencing heaven, or are you putting yourself through a version of hell? Now, you can't see it till you can see it. So I'm just talking about it in the hopes that it contributes something, right? So I had him destroy and create his projections and expectations, destroy and create who he was yesterday, because all those things are definitions. They don't let anything else show up, so fuck that shit. And then I gave him a whole series of questions to start to ask. Now, before I go into the few taster questions I'll give you, because there's so many, but you don't need so many. Just start asking one or two. What I want to tell you is that literally he started with this process that morning, and the whole rest of that day changed totally. Literally, he had an insurance settlement come in this insurance settlement had been on the vent, like they hadn't settled for like a year and a half. That day it settled, like a big insurance settlement. He was busier than he'd ever been. He had more sales closing than he'd ever had. And he came home and he was light. He was actually him again. Like it was a miracle. But that's the gift of a true question. A true question is a generative energy that invites in all these different possibilities and all these different choices and invites you to be you. Like it is a miracle. A true question is a miracle. So Here is one question that you can begin to use. So do the two things. Destroy and uncreate your projections and expectations for that day, for your business, for money, for you. Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, pock, online, shorts, boys, and beyonds. Destroy and uncreate who you were yesterday. Right, wrong, good, bad, pop, pock, online, shorts, boys, and beyonds. And then ask, what can I be today that would allow massive amounts of money to come to me with ease? What can I be today that would allow massive amounts of money to come to me with ease? Okay, do those three things. Now, I will tell you that on Wednesday, we're going to start a 21 day where we explore a different question and a different facet of this. Okay, so if you want more, just come play in that and like flesh out your money handbook, okay? But the thrust of this whole thing is like every single day for 21 days, let's practice generating. Like what if you just made an about face? Like whatever you've been doing with money, if you've been doing stress or worry or freaking out or any of those emotions, I know those well. If you've been doing need, and which leads to greed, what if for 21 days, and do this on your own or come do this with me, whatever you choose, you dropped that as a practice, because that's a practice. That's something that you've gotten really good at. And, you know, over the last week where I've been practicing, every time I feel that hitch in my gitch, which would be like with money, you feel that hitch in your gitch where you're starting to go to stress, you just go, wait, what can I be today that would allow massive amounts of money to flow to me with ease? What can I choose? What can I do? Where can I find the money? So you literally just drop the other thing in favor of fighting for, choosing, going forward as, generating what you'd really like to have, which is money flowing in like air. And I got that from Gary Douglas. He's like, if you want water to flow, you got to turn on the pump. And the pump, in this case, is a true question that actually, hi Kara, actually allows water to flow. So what if you dropped this and started just doing something different? And that's the last piece of this that I want to talk about today, is a lot of what created a lot of the impetus to, you know, for him and my conversation of like, well, what the fuck are we doing? I guess this is over. And all of that was some questions I started asking that I got from the Gentleman's Club. And if you're in for some true change, go pick up that book and read chapter 1, because in there, Gary Douglas and Dane here have a conversation about what it is to do something different. And the primary like focus of the conversation is like, most of us try to change like the position in the chair, right? So I'm in a chair. So if this is my relationship and this position isn't working, well then I change positions and I like put the armrest in front, or I try standing on the chair, or I squat on the chair, or I put my head on the chair, right? I try to change what my interaction with the chair to try to fix whatever I've decided is the problem there, right? With money, with relationship. Doing something different is just going, oh, well, what if there was no chair? Like allowing everything to fall away and go, what can I actually do or be here that's going to give me a different result? And I had an incredible afternoon today with my friend Maxine, and you know, we have the best conversations, but that was one of the things we started to talk about. It's like, you know, that thing of where when you continually do the same stuff, you get pretty similar results. And I know we say that, but it's just, you got to look at it. It's like if you keep doing worry and need and lack, and as if you keep doing those and it's going to work, will it work, you know? And so if you drop that and you literally go, well, I'm just not going to do that anymore. And every time that, you know, I start to do that, I'm going to drop that in favor of, listen, fuck that shit. What can I do or be today that would make massive amounts of money come to me with total ease? And you start generating the reality that you'd really like to have with money or with your relationship or with your family or with your body. And that was really where we went with our conversation. It's like, have you ever generated your reality with your body, you know? And she hadn't. I mean, who talks to you about that? Nobody talks to us about generating except freaking Access Consciousness. And I didn't even get the conversation until like last week. And I've taught on it. But you get it when you get it. And it really is the conversation of like, what do you want to be the source of? Because you're the source of what's showing up in your life. So it's a big conversation, but I'm hopeful that that gives you just enough that you can start to create something different if that's what you'd like to have with money. And of course, you're invited to the 21 days, always. And, you know, those 3 tools that I gave you will start to loosen up the ground that will actually just turn you in another direction if you allow it. If you always go trying to figure out why you got to where you got to, you're going to miss the possibility of just going, I got there. Okay, cool. Now what? And what can I start to add to my life? What question can I be? What reality do I want to be the source of here that I haven't chosen yet? And what can I be or do that's different? Share this with your friends if you got anything out of it. I am so glad to have been here with you live, guys, and hopefully that was a gift. So I'll be back next week with more gifts. See you then.